Hey guys, so who am I? That's what we're going to get into today. Stick around. It's you and I. So, my name is Pikachu the Atheist. I've been an atheist for years. My real name is Jonathan M. Doyle. I know I'm doxing myself, so what? And I'm a member of the DSA, and yes, of course, they make these fucking flimsy, really shitty cards, and I really wish that they would make something more expensive than that. Something better than that, because you pay a lot of money for these fucking, membership stuff, but, hell with it. But, yes, of course, I'm a Democratic Socialist, and I'm an atheist, and I made atheist content before. It's been a while since I made something on YouTube, but I've made stuff before. Now, I've also been diagnosed with schizoid affective. And you guys will know, but it is what it is. Some of you guys may know. I've also been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder many years ago. And like I said, I'm a gay man who lives in the state of Louisiana in New Orleans. So, where of course there's a shit ton of problems, and I support Bernie Sanders. But I'm a little bit further left than Bernie Sanders. Of course, I support a lot of things like tying the minimum wage and taxes to inflation, or, of course, making it a livable wage, but making it the $17 an hour, not just the $15 an hour, and then tying it to inflation and having it increase every 3 years by $5. And then, of course, tying taxation to inflation. And I think the $70 taxation rate is a little too low. That, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has said. I think it needs to be higher than that. I think it really should be. This is a genuine opinion of mine. I really believe it should be about 90% for the richest of the rich. And there's good reason behind that. Because if it was 90%, we could pay for, medical. We could pay for, like I said, single-payer healthcare. We could pay for single-payer education. We could pay for basically everything and then pay off all our debts. And then not have to worry about things. I'm for a lot of that. I'm a little bit more liberal, though, on some of the issues of where you place your tax dollars, but when you get to those higher levels, like, say, for instance, when you get to the $10 million range, you don't have a choice on where your tax dollars go. But when you're at the lower end, there's only 3 things that you don't have a choice on where your tax dollars go, according to me. To me, you get to choose whether you can pay for the military or not. That is a big deal. Because to me, I shouldn't be having to spend money on unjust wars. On wars in Iraq or Iran or some other country like that, if necessary. I should be able to spend money on defending my country, but not on fighting wars for oil. That's just my opinion. You guys may differ on me on that, but that's just my opinion. But now, so I think that people should be able to, when they're poor, be able to choose, where their tax dollars go, except they don't have the choice of how much their tax dollars go there. That is done by the inflation. Now, The other thing that I'm for is for net neutrality. I'm also for this idea that cable, nobody should be paying extra for the NFL channel or for ESPN when they're also getting money from, from these different ads and other things that are paying up enough to pay for you to be able to watch ESPN. So in my case, why the fuck should you be able to, or why should you have to pay extra to watch the sports channel when they have ads on there that pay the company that, runs the stuff enough money to run the stuff and do the extra stuff? Shit. And the other thing that I'm for is that I don't believe that companies should be charging their customers the sales tax. I don't believe they should be charging their customers the, how should I say, their overhead, or their employees the sales tax or the overhead. I believe that they should be taking that money on directly. I believe that all of that should be coming directly from the employers. And mostly from the guys who own the company. The guys who own the company should be paying in to the sales tax and to the other things. They should be paying for the sales tax of every item they sell, not the customer. They should also be paying for the overhead, not the customer. But it is what it is. And we live in a world where, of course, this camera, I had to pay the shipping, and the guy who fucking manufactured the camera didn't pay a damn dime for it. And even if I would have not paid the shipping, it would have been included in the price that I paid for the camera. But it should not have been. The guy should have paid for it upfront. So I should have paid the least amount of money. Probably the amount of money that he paid for the camera is what I should have paid. If he paid 80% less than what I pay, then I should pay at least at least 70% less than what he charges me. And that's for something that's not on sale. Facto disposition. The other thing is, and I can't stand, big business that's like that. I cannot stand big business that's like that. Big business that takes customer money or charges the customer for the shipping, for the taxes, for the this, and puts it on the customer. And then, of course, if they can't charge the customer, they charge the fucking employee. I can't stand companies that do that. And companies do that because they don't want to pay it themselves, but they should be made to pay it themselves. Then there's the other thing. The other thing is being in Louisiana. You see, Louisiana and New Orleans, in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, is a big problem. Places like Destrehan and places like St. Rose have a high amount, and I mean a very high amount, of CO2 emissions. Why? Because of the amount of oil that's refined in the area. New Orleans and Baton Rouge tends to be the capital of the United States for oil refinery. The state of Louisiana has some of the highest problems in the state, or in the country, I meant to say, with cancer, particularly in between New Orleans and Baton Rouge, with civilians, not with people that work at the oil refineries, with civilians, with people that just live in their daily houses next to these places. And the worst thing about it is that these places get off scot-free as far as taxation. In fact, our tax dollars go straight directly to them. Money that should be going to education, healthcare, police department, fire department is going straight to the oil refining companies, to big oil. That is a big problem, and I don't stand for that. I think the state should end it, but our GOP fucking idiots, excuse me, but our GOP idiots who run this state are so bought up in money that they will not change the problem. The next issue, Louisiana has an issue with hurricanes. We live in one of the areas to where hurricanes affect the state probably more than any other state. Or they can affect the state more than any other state. Louisiana has low-lying areas that are lower than a lot of other places in the nation, in the world. And we've seen it with Hurricane Katrina, how much this state gets affected by hurricanes. And a lot of it is due to climate change. But Republicans will not acknowledge it. And then the racism is out the ass. I live in a district, I guess I'll say it, the 1st District of Louisiana. Steve Scalise is my representative. Nothing that I put forth is going to ever get heard. None of the social issues that I talk about as far as change is ever going to get heard because of that clown. And because a clown's just like him. Nothing will ever get heard in the House of Representatives. And then my 2 senators, both are Republicans. Both support Donald Trump. Both, I can clearly say, in some sense of a matter, are pretty much racist. Nothing of what I am doing, or what I fight for, as an LGBT advocate, as an advocate for climate change, as an advocate for disability rights, as an advocate for a lot of different things. Nothing that I fight for will ever get heard by those people. And it's sad. Nothing will ever get heard. I was told about my essay on the SSA or whatever, which I have an essay on the SSA, and I have a lot of complaints about the SSA, and that essay is in the description on my Patreon, about the $2,000 rule and about the constitutionality, like I said, of taxing people who are disabled. Not taxing people who are disabled, but Telling people who are disabled you can't make over $2,000. Period. That's what I meant to say. Telling people who are disabled that they can't make over $2,000 or else they lose their benefits. And how much that causes people, or how much that causes disabled people to go homeless. Now, I sent this to my therapist, or I showed my therapist one of the rough drafts, and he said to send it to the congressman. Scalise will never, ever, ever, ever read that. Scalise will just tear it up and throw it away. Kennedy, whatever their names are, just tear it up and throw it away. That's exactly what they would do. In the state of Louisiana, I have no representation as far as the House goes, or as far as Congress goes. My representation is outside of the state of Louisiana. The representatives who represent me aren't even from my state, aren't even from my district. I never could vote for them. But it is what it is. And this is why I sit back and I fight for things. I fight against the racism. I fight against the other sort of stuff. Because I sorely believe that we need to get people like Scalise and the Republican Party out of power immediately. That's one of the things I believe. Tell me what you guys think, comrades. Thank you.